Welcome to the Upshot, multi-world disc golf podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield. And Josh, it was April Fool's Day last week. And first question, did you get fooled?
No, I don't think so.
No fooling?
I mean, I got fooled a little bit, though, on the one we're about to talk about. That's the only one that I would say fooled me.
So disc golf, if you're involved online with disc golf, I'm sure you know, it's kind of a thing that like companies make jokes about, the DGA hole, and this year they discontinued it. And, there's various levels of quality of joke and, obviousness of an April Fool's. Now, Innova comes out on social media and they're like, boom, it's finally here. We've got it. Halo Polecat. Buy it now. And you click through the link and it's a Halo Polecat. That is to say, it is a DX Polecat with the Polecat animal that has a halo on its head on the stamp. And they're charging $32 or something for it. And, what a hilarious, like, April Fool's joke. But it's, like, in the actual store, Josh. Like, you can purchase this Polecat stamp with a halo, and, like, it's like this meme. And I'm like, people are going to drop $30 on this DX disc? Now, here's the thing, Josh. And some folks sleuth this out. I didn't see this myself first, but I confirmed it. The price they were charging for this Halo Polecat with Halo stamp, was exactly the stock price of a DX disc and a Halo disc combined. Okay? And so I was in the Ultra Disc Golf Discord and I was like, what if they are actually going to send you a Halo Polecat? Like an actual, like with the Halo plastic. And then we see this from those who are able to purchase one of the 100 Halo Polecats. Take a look. Yes, what you are seeing and what you are hearing is the Rickroll sound. They built a speaker into the box to play the Rickroll music, and there's a DX Halo Polecat stamp, and then there is a Halo Polecat disc. Josh, they really did it.
They did it. This is the most quality April Fool's joke because, like, it's hilarious. You and I laughed about it on the show ahead of time, or laughed about it before when we were just doing show prep, because we're like, who spent $35 on a DX disc? Like, now this is the markup that companies need to be doing, right? Like, meet the demand. And they delivered. They gave out the Halo Polecat. It's a thing. It's exciting. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's brilliant piece of marketing because they trolled you twice, right? It's like double April Fools. It's like the people who really wanted to get a Halo Polecat are mad because they feel like this is just mean cruelty. And then, in fact, if you were willing and gullible enough to buy, you get rewarded with a disc that is now selling for around $500 on Facebook. There's one listed on eBay. I'll give you the buy it now price, $694.20. I don't know how they came to that number. They might sell it, though.
Are you buying, Charlie?
They only made 100 of these. No, I'm not buying. If they come out with a stock run, I'm mad at myself because here's the thing. I was on Twitter. The link dropped from Innova. I clicked through. I saw it. I thought it was hilarious. I posted the link in Discord, but I didn't buy it because I was like, why would I buy a $30 DX disc? And the joke was on me. The joke was on me.
They got you, Charlie.
They got me. Now, I don't really know what the value of a Halo Polecat really is. Like, when you look at the disc, it's hilarious because it's just this like gigantic thick rim lid style disc. But you got to give them credit. I mean, I saw a comment on Reddit that was great. It was like, they couldn't afford to both keep Ricky and do this, so they knew what they had to do, or something like that.
I mean, here's the thing. I think they could have bumped up the price when people thought it was just the DX disc, and people still would have paid for it. Like, you probably could have knocked that up to $50, and I think you still sell all 100. And then once they get it, it could be, yeah, it's.
But
it's
they didn't price gouge. Ultimately, you get 2 discs.
No, they didn't. They didn't at all.
And the value, of course, Innova knows just as well. Like the value of even the DX, unusual Halo stamp, along with the actual Halo Polecat. I mean, they knew the value that people were going to be getting. It's going to be far more than the money they paid for it. So it's just what a way to make it happen. What
a good April Fool's joke.
So good. And they obviously know there's demand out there for making more of them. So fun little story. So let's take a look at what happened this weekend. It was a Silver Series event, the Music City Open. Chris Dickerson gets the win, starts the round with a 3-shot lead, and holds off a charge from Nikko Locastro, holds off a charge from Lauri Lehtinen, who played amazing, shot a 12 under, the best round of the weekend, and takes down his second straight Silver Series event. And this did not have the field, Josh, that Belton did, but he still beat a strong group of players, and it's worth noting that he once again eclipsed an overall event rating of 1060. So both of his wins this season have come on the Silver Series, but it's also been his best golf of the season at both of those tournaments.
Yeah. It really, I mean, when you watch Chris Dickerson play at the Silver Series, it feels like, I mean, Chris Dickerson of old almost sounds not fair enough, because Chris Dickerson's playing great at the Silver Series. I mean, he's playing exceptionally well. I think that he has the capacity to do so on the big stage. I don't think it's a pressure thing. I think these courses, I mean, he played well. He has some good weekends, and then he has some great weekends. I hope that one of those great weekends is going to be at Champions Cup. But so far he's been playing really well at those Silver Series events. And it's, as we've talked about and talked a little bit about on the subscriber bonus, which if you're not, you should become one, because our live shows on Discord are always a blast. It's not the fact that he's winning Silver Series events. It's the way that he's winning Silver Series events that makes it so that it is important to discuss for Chris Dickerson going into larger events like Champions Cup.
Yeah. I mean, I've been impressed, particularly with his play from the fairways. I mean, in the final round, there was on DGN there was a highlight package of his shots, basically upshots, and I mean, he is, even when he's in position, he's parking it. When he's out of position, he's putting it inside the circle with some crazy shots. Like big sky Annie. All kinds of ways of, even when he's out of position off the tee shot, still finding a way to put himself in a position to get a birdie. And he puts together back-to-back, double-digit under par rounds. The thing is, we haven't even seen the best of Chris Dickerson yet, because his putting's still a little off. He has not dialed it in yet from Circle 2. I think he's only hitting about half of the number of Circle 2 putts that he typically does, by percentage. And once he gets that going, and I think that's, when you talk about bag switch, different players struggle, I think, in different areas, and I think he's still probably trying to dial that in. Once he gets that all locked in, I mean, he's looking like he's playing some of the best golf we've ever seen him play, to be honest, in these wins. So I think Chris Dickerson is back on the map for potential winner at Champions Cup, and I don't think that you need to, I mean, the value of winning 2 Silver Series should probably be seen as less important than winning even a single Elite Series event, in my mind. But that said, the quality of play is really what counts, and we're seeing him start to find a rhythm, and he doesn't even seem fully satisfied yet. And so I think an impressive start overall to the season for Chris.
And the numbers show it. We're looking at definitely a shortened time period that they're able to evaluate Chris right now. But he's second in fairway hits and second in Circle 1 in regulation at 80% and 51%. Second in Circle 2 in regulation at 76%. I mean, his numbers on the green or on the fairway are backing it up. On the green, as you mentioned, 82% for 19th in Circle 1X and 16% for 77th in Circle 2, which, Chris Dickerson's a great Circle 2 putter. So
he is.
I'm sure he'll, we say that 25% for 42nd last year, not bad, not quite in the 30% mark that we see the elite numbers, but he's still about 10% off where he was last year. Circle 1 putts, comparable though. So, Circle 1 putter is not, it's actually identical percentages this season from last season. But on the tee, he's bumped up his percentages. He's averaging higher relative to the field. And that's what's making the difference. And I think we watch Chris Dickerson's game.
Yeah, I think his putting's really been off a little bit for a couple seasons now. I mean, still good, but he was one of the best putters on tour in 2019 and 2020, and he was merely in the above average category last year, and is even arguably sort of more around average right now. So if we see him refine the rhythm on the green, I think it's going to bode really well for his chances. This is one of the better performances we've seen from a European player so far this season. Lauri Lehtinen putting together a tremendous round, really, in some ways, putting pressure on Chris Dickerson from the third card because he shoots a 12 under, ends up finishing in third place. Adam Hammes finishing in second, a nice bounce back weekend for him. Lehtinen is easily one of the most promising European players. There's a case to be made that he was the best player in Europe last season. Him and Nicholas Antilla have started to really separate. Is this performance, does this make you think that we could see a top 5 Elite Series finish / a win from a player like Lehtinen or Antilla?
Top 5, yes, without a doubt. If I had seen 2 rounds like his final round, I would say a win would be very possible. This confirms what we all knew. The top European pros have the game that they can shoot around just as good as anybody else in the world. The question is that the level of competition, the duration of the tour, the number of events that you're playing, all those things are what build the consistency of those rounds. And that's what we still need to see proven. 1040, 1032. I mean, neither of those rounds, you have to go down to Ezra Aderhold in his round 2 in order to find another round that is as low as Lauri Lehtinen's first 2 rounds. Nikko, Adam Hammes, Chris Dickerson, all 3 of their rounds shot better than those 2 rounds from Lauri. The 1078, though, is what gives me confidence that they can have a top 5 finish, because 2 1078 rounds and you're 24 under, and there you go. Like, it's not, we say it like it's so simple, but just go shoot more 1078 golf.
I mean, gosh, it was awesome to watch in the final round. I mean, every time you tune in to see him throw, he just is throwing a perfect shot. And, he left a couple strokes on the green, had a chance to get to 13 down on 18. Tricky putt for sure, sort of right at the edge of the OB, putting a little bit downhill and almost hit it. But, I think clearly the putting could be better. I think it's fair to say that that's kind of like a theme across the European so far this season. The putting could be better. We're going to talk more about that as we get ready for Champions Cup. But overall, really nice weekend for him. And also for Alden Harris. He finishes in 6th place. He had 1 bogey the whole weekend.
Clean, smart golf will always get you near the top.
Certainly will. Over in FPO, Missy Gannon gets her first win of the season. It was a grinder of a final round for pretty much all the players up at the top. I mean, Missy only had 4 birdies. Kat Mertsch, who finished in 2nd, had 5. Macy Vela-Diaz, who finished in 3rd, had just 1. This was a difficult course for FPO players, no doubt. But we saw some real struggles from the lead and the chase card. But Missy Gannon gets it going late. And in the final 7 holes, goes 3 under with no bogeys and pulls away after entering the final round with a small lead. And I think this is clearly Missy's best golf of the season. That's statistically true, as well as just sort of like by the eye test. She averaged 974 this weekend, and I think could have been even better than that if the final round gets going a little bit more strong. So overall, I think it's a nice sign for Missy Gannon. But I have to say, I think if we'd seen Paige Pierce, Katrina Allen, Christian Tatar, Valerie Mondahano in the field, I don't think Missy's going to win. And I think that's not just because those players have been playing better. I just think the way the course set up, the level of difficulty on and length on some of the holes, so kudos to Missy, but this was definitely a Silver Series win.
I'd be amiss if I didn't quickly say hole 11, hole 17, hole 18 all averaged a full stroke over par. Hole 17 averaged a stroke and a half over par. I'm not going to throw too much of a fit about it because it's Silver Series, but again, those are just bad holes. I agree with you though that given this layout, we saw Emily Beach throws really far, and in her front 9 went 7 under through 9. It's very conceivable to me to imagine that someone like Paige, Katrina, or Kristen could also shoot a 7 under through the front 9 and then also snag a couple birdies in the back 9 as well. And that looks very different than for Missy coming down the stretch.
Okay, we got to talk about Kat Mertsch.
Yes.
We got to talk about Kat Mertsch because Kat Mertsch is 4th in the Pro Tour standings. She is behind Katrina, Kristen, and Paige. And then there's Kat Mertsch ahead of Valerie Mondahano. And she's now finished inside the top 10 at 4 of the 5 events that she's played on tour, including the Silver Series. She was in 2nd place this weekend. And Josh, are we seeing the emergence of a new challenger in the vein of somebody who, Ellen Widboom from a couple seasons ago, Lisa Fakis, arguably Missy Gannon before she started winning events last year? Is this where Kat Mertsch is at in her career?
I think Missy Gannon before 2 years ago is a really, really good descriptor. I think that's the perfect analogy here when you compare kind of the way that Kat Mertsch is performing on the Pro Tour, because she has the kind of consistency to keep her up near the top and is playing just exceptional golf. She really is. And her finishes thus far have been ones that I think, they surprised me a little bit. But 9th place at LVC, 4th place at Waco, 16th at Belton, 8th at Texas States, and now 2nd at Music City Open. Besides 16th at a Silver Series, that's a really, really good record. And a continuation of top 10, top 5 finishes. And I also think the other thing that's noteworthy is that back when Missy 2 years ago was doing that, she was top 5 every week. It felt like outside the top 5 then was kind of like the top 20 or so for MPO side, just given the depth of the field. Mm-hmm. Top 10 feels, that 7th, 9th, 8th mark feels like a really good performance still. Because there's just, especially with the Europeans over here, so many women who could finish in the top 10. So these are just good. These are good finishes that have not really contested for the win in most cases.
Right.
That's the point. It's not that she's getting up on the lead card and then just getting beat out, or getting up on the lead card and then having a little bit of a choke. It's that she's playing well for 3 rounds to the point that she finds herself finishing well, but never in the question of, is Kat Mertsch going to take this down?
Not yet. And that's exactly what was happening with Missy Gannon 2 years ago. It was like, wow, another strong performance from Missy Gannon. Now, Missy was finishing, 3rd, 4th, 3rd, 5th on Elite Series events. And we need to see that still from Kat Mertsch to really upgrade her to the point where you're like, okay, she's going to take one down soon. But, the level of quality is just obviously massively improved. She's just playing significantly better. She's basically doubled her birdie chances so far this season compared to last year. And like, we don't really even need to go through the stats. Like it's just super obvious, you know, she's birdieing twice as much essentially. And obviously that makes a big difference. So overall impressive. I think has a really well-rounded game. Someone to keep an eye on, because it's been a little low key to have her be in fourth place ahead of Valerie Mondahano. Like, I think if you asked the average fan on the street, like, who are the top 5 players in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, they're going to name 4 of the 5, and they're never going to get Kat Mertsch. So kudos. She's having a very nice start to the season. Go ahead.
I'm really interested to see when she gets into kind of more technical golf, Champions Cup, and then on the East Coast swing, because her strength has been her ability to stay in the fairway and get into circle 1 in regulation. I'm curious to see if that continues in really heavily wooded golf. I think if it does, she really could be challenging for the wins this season.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. So one thing, you know, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but Evelina Salomon, for the 3rd tournament in a row, was first in strokes gained from tee to green and dead last in strokes gained putting. And, you know, it couldn't, like, it's not getting better, the putting. And I don't really know what more there is to say. Like, there are obvious just like mental block on the green. And I still am wondering, Josh, you know, after watching her 4-putt early in the round, in the final round, after, by the way, shooting the hot round in round 2. Okay.
Again.
A hot round, like, was definitely in a position to win the tournament. But, you know, comes into hole 3 and 4 putts from inside of 20 feet and never putts from outside of 20 feet. It was just, it was stunning to watch. Like, you can't believe what you're seeing. It's like she goes to throw the putt and the disc goes out of her hand at an angle that doesn't make a lot of sense, that you like never see. So I don't know if there's a grip, like a physical grip issue, or if it's literally just entirely mental, but there something's got to change, right? I mean, you got to try something different.
When it's almost like unreal to watch, because that putt that, you know, you're describing on hole 3 was exceptionally bad.
Like, it's like one of the worst putts you'll ever see from a professional disc golfer.
It's up there with Katrina Allen's bag miss, with the Adam Hammis, like when he throws it in and it catches that bottom link and pops back out.
But like, at least those ones, like, you can sort of like understand how that can happen like once in a great while.
Yes.
But this is happening to Evelina like 5 times a round.
And the part that's unreal is that she misses this putt that is within 15 feet. And then on the next tee, just steps up and throws a perfect drive.
Sick.
When she's putting, it looks like she does not have control of her arm. Someone else.
It looks like
she gave the controller to her little sister.
Poltergeist that's got
her little brother. Yeah. And it's just, it looks broken. Something is not connecting. And then she steps up to the next green or next tee. No problems. It has to be mental. It has to be just the greatest mental block. I don't know. I don't know how to overcome that. I agree. Sports psychologist would be good. I would pay a lot of money to be a fly on the wall to hear how a sports psychologist works people through mental blocks like that, because I think it would be fascinating to hear. If you're a listener and you're a sports psychologist and you want to come talk about that a little bit, we'd have you on the show. Because it's something that is so hard to even believe, watching a player of Evelina's caliber struggle so just like overwhelmingly with even the most simple of putts.
I feel like I've said it before. I feel bad because you know that she's capable of so much more. Mm-hmm. And just like, so somebody did the math.
It was Kevin. Yeah, Kevin.
Sent it in to upshot@ultiworld.com. And so here's Evelina's finishes so far this year. 5th at LVC, 9th at Waco, after 2 rounds. 27th at Texas States, and 10th at Music City Open. All right. And so he did the math. Because we've talked about, like, if she was just an average putter, middle of the road, she would be winning tournaments. And it's true, because he did the math. If she was at the 50th percentile in putting, which means half the people were worse than her, half the people were better than her. So like dead center. She would have been 4th at LVC, 1st at Waco, 4th at Texas States, and 1st at Music City Open. Okay, so 2 wins, all top 5s, absolutely up there in terms of the conversation of who's having the best season so far. Now, here is the craziest part, all right? Even if you put her at the 5th percentile in putting, that means that 95% of players are putting better than her and only 5% worse. Her finishes are 9th, 3rd, 12th, and 3rd. So 2 podiums, and currently she has 0 podiums. So we're talking about like a tiny improvement, right? That's what's just wild about the situation. And that's why I think that even if it's a temporary solution, she should try just doing a completely different style of putt. Like, just make the ones from 20 feet and in. Like, just from your chest, a straight, like, flat putt. I don't know. Like, you could do something different than that if you want. But until you can, like, have the time to get the break and whatever and work on the hyzer putt, if that's what you're going to commit to, you have to change something, because you're just like she's giving away tournaments in some cases. Like, if she could just hit these basic putts, we're talking about her having a chance to win multiple tournaments this season.
It's funny because, you know, we talked about she should just lay up to tap in range, and then that would save her strokes. And that's true for the most part, but she's missed tap in ranges.
Right.
And that's if I don't know how to say lay up to literally underneath the basket every single time and still take it, like, believe that she has a chance to win and take that seriously. She has to figure something out. I agree with you. I think 20 footers and in. I wish there was an accurate way to really gauge where she's missing, you know, because we know UDESK stats are not perfectly accurate on that distance. I would be curious if just to look at how many, you know, kind of like the basketball shot charts. I would love to see that overlaid. And I know the Disc Golf Pro Tour has done that for in the past, but I wish we could see that for Evelina and see how many inside 20 feet she's missing and what the numbers would look like if she just made inside 20 feet and that was it.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to have to retire this topic at this point until, you know, further notice, but it's remarkable to see, because there's just watching her throw off the tee is spectacular. It really is. Let's talk about the Silver Series a little bit more, because this is just like a general thing. What is the value of winning a Silver Series? Like, Josh, how do you look at it? Are you thinking like, oh, that's great win? Like, do you feel like it's similar to an Elite Series event, or do you look at it differently?
I look at it as an opportunity. I think almost, and it's kind of awkward because it's in the middle of the season, but I feel like it's almost a spring training for disc golf throughout the season. I get to see people who are working on different skills. Pros will oftentimes talk about different things that they're working on, and they'll talk about how they practice that at the Silver Series. It's an opportunity to see showcase on different courses and how pros are feeling on certain levels of courses, and to see if they're coming into form as predictors for upcoming tournaments. It's also interesting because we really don't, it's an odd qualification system, because when we see a pro win a Silver Series and even win it like, well, Chris Dickerson being, I think, the exception this year, we oftentimes qualify wins. Oh, it was a Silver Series. The course wasn't as hard. The field wasn't as difficult. So even if they shoot good golf, Chris Dickerson, of course, shooting great golf. So it's a little, we're giving him a little bit more credit for it, but we still tend to qualify those wins. We don't qualify, though, when players play poorly at Silver Series, especially top players. There isn't really an excuse when there's a lighter field and a course that maybe isn't befitting of a Pro Tour course, why the top pros should not be finishing at the top every single time. And so it's really just kind of a gauge for me going in, just sticking the thermometer in the water before we go into the next big tournament. That's how I use Silver Series.
So we got a great email from Jason, and he doesn't like how Silver Series points work. So here's what he has to say. Right now, Elite Series are worth up to 100 points, and your best 8 finishes are used for your totals. That's true. Silvers are only worth 25 points, and only your top 3 finishes are in the total. Majors and playoffs are worth more. Everyone is at them, so they aren't relevant in this discussion. My problem is that Silver Series sucks to watch because most of the contenders are only going to get their 3 tournaments in throughout the season and pass on the rest. This also means, for the most part, they're just going to hit the ones that are convenient, like Belton, wedged between Waco and Texas State. Without the top players, it usually becomes a boring show of the 1 or 2 A-tier players that showed up and the pack of C and D-tier players chasing them. But the A-tier contenders still have to go, or they are out up to 75 points in the season total. I think the solution is simple. Your top 8 or possibly 10 finishes from Elite and Silver Series are used for your point total. If you're a player that earns more than 25 points in an Elite Series event, you don't need to bother with Silver Series / Minor League. If you're a player that struggles to get to 25 points at Elite Series events, the Silver Series are your opportunity to get some extra chances at points. Josh, your reaction.
So I have to preface this. Jason's a good buddy of mine, and I played a lot of golf with him. He mentions at the end of the email that he's beat me in the past 3 rounds that we've played. That is true. I need to get back up to Montana for some redemption, is what it sounds like.
You're not proud of that, I'm sure.
No, definitely not. So the first part of the email, I sit here and I kind of disagreed with, because I was like, that's not the point of Silver Series. They're not meant to be exciting to watch per se, because they're not the Elite Tour. But it's the solution that I really, really like. The idea that the only reason to go to to a Silver Series event is if you don't think you can score 25 points at an Elite Series event. I love that, because it creates a natural selection opportunity to disincentivize the top players from going, but it gives the opportunity to regional pros as well as to those pros that maybe are not at that top level, and 25 points is meaningful to them. And so it automatically does a self-filter system to keep those top pros out, which is the point of the Silver Series in the first place. I love that solution.
You basically took all the words out of my mouth. The problem with the Silver Series is that it's this weird in-between, where it's like people want to tune in and watch and have it be like Paul and Calvin and Paige and Katrina, but that's not what these are for. And like the Silver Series has not really found its place yet. Like, I get it. It's essentially elevated A tiers. But the real issue is that the incentive structure is kind of messed up right now. And do we want players to feel that they need to go to these Silver Series events if they're touring pros? Now, you may be wondering, where do you have to finish to score at least 25 points in a Pro Tour event?
That's what I just pulled up.
Yes. The answer is 25th. 25th place scores 25 points. And up from there, with it ramping up quite a bit, as you get into the top 10 and then the top 5, with 100 points for the winner. So if you're someone who's regularly finishing inside the top 25, then in this incentive structure, you basically have no reason to attend Silver Series events unless you wanted to. The problem is, I don't think it's actually going to change anything. I think what's going to happen is you're still going to see pros go to some of these Silver Series events because they like the tournament, because they like the course, because it fits in well with their schedule, or some other reason. Because they're still going to have bigger payouts than most A tiers. They're still going to be a valuable stop on the way somewhere, potentially. So you're still probably going to have a couple of the top players show up to these tournaments and then probably dominate everybody. Ultimately, I think that Silver Series has to evolve in some way. Either they need to make more Elite Series events so that a lot of these top Silver Series events simply become Elite Series events and we have more of them. and players can still, players will start to take some of them off, but we'll have more total tournaments on the Elite Series. And then you have a separate set of tournaments where there's a rating cap. Like if you're rated above a certain number, you cannot even go. Like otherwise, how do you get new people onto the tour? Like if the idea is that this is minor leagues, as Jason puts it, well, then they need to be minor leagues. Mm-hmm. We do not want to have, Clayton Kershaw and whoever else, dominating it double A. The fundamental Silver Series thing is weird because right now it feels like they're almost Elite Series events, yet they get less media coverage. People are like frustrated by that. And the pros like sometimes go and sometimes don't. And there's not like a clear, like, what does this mean? And it's great to watch Chris Dickerson and Missy Gannon win a tournament, but I would much rather see local pros up at the top to like get some new faces on coverage. And I don't know. It's in a weird middle ground for me right now.
Here's one possible solution that would require a lot of, it'd be difficult to do. But what you could, I think the Silver Series should run completely independent with its own quote unquote majors, like a Silver Series championship, and then put that rating cap in. So for those who want to play, and I don't know exactly what that looks like, but put 2 or 3, allow the majors to count, and then say that you have the Silver Series championship. And the way I think about this is that I've said this a couple times, but I follow a couple esports, and the way that they run is that they have their own completely independent championship series that mirrors the Elite Series. And so you'll have, majors throughout the season that are timed similarly to the actual large events and majors and championships that are designed explicitly for their quote unquote Silver Series.
So they have like a second tier basically.
Yes, they have a full second tier. Mm-hmm. Okay,
interesting.
And you have the June, the June major, and then you have one in September, and then you have the championship at the end of the year. And for whatever game you have, challengers, contenders, whatever it's called, that is a completely separate tier with separate teams, separate broadcasts, separate YouTube channels. All those things are completely run independent of the mainstream. And it's really interesting because on the second tier, you get a couple of really cool things out of it. You get to showcase new teams that rotate with a lot more frequency. You'll have teams that show up for a season, you get to watch them, and then they fall off. I think the same thing would be true of a Silver Series tour. You would have regional or young people who'd come up and play for a season or two, decide that's not where they need to be, and then move on and go to college.
Or they move up and they become.
Or they move up. Exactly. That's the other thing. That's how you get them to move up. In esports, there's a lot of relegation, like in soccer. You have, the bottom couple teams have to play for their spots to stay in.
Right.
I don't know what that quite looks like yet. But the other part that's really interesting is the media talent that you also get to bump up. You have commentators and casters and other support staff that all run this Silver Series that then are where you pull the talent from in order to then recruit them up to the Pro Tour. So maybe someone's not ready yet for the Pro Tour. Charlie, I'm not saying I think you're a fantastic commentator, but you run all the Silver Series as commentating.
Right.
And then next season, they're like, yep, you did a great job. We're pulling you up for the Pro Tour.
Right. I'm on the B team. Like, and that's okay. Like, I think you're right. I think that some of that is happening now, right? Some of that is happening with the Silver Series. Like, there is a little bit more experimentation. They are, trying out different commentators and doing different things with the media. But it's just in this weird, it's too in the middle, right? When you have great food, okay, where do you want to be? You either want to eat like the best $10 street food, when you want to have a great food experience, or you want to have the like $200 omakase sushi. You don't want to have the $40 middle of the road steakhouse,
Yeah.
like if you want to have a great food experience. And I think the problem is we're having the $40 steakhouse dinner right now with the Silver Series. We either need we need to split it out. And here's the thing. We can't just take the existing Silver Series and say, okay, now this is only for people who on MPO are rated less than 1020 or whatever. Because there's too many tournaments that pros like to play or that fit in well with the rest of the tour. And I think you need to maintain A-tier options for even the top pros, at least for now.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to come up with probably some new tournaments to fill out this Silver Series concept. And, the argument is maybe that like the NADGT is kind of doing this, but I feel like the Pro Tour has an opportunity to have there be like higher than amateur, but below Pro Tour for people who are trying to make the leap or think about making the leap. And I hope to see them figure out what to do with the Silver Series next year.
Here's what you do. You have your Pro Tour that are Elite Series, and then you create what are called Pro Tour affiliate tournaments that are just A tiers that are the only thing the Pro Tour does is works with the TDs to schedule them on a weekend that fits in the Pro Tour. Maybe you give them, right, if maybe the Pro Tour gets a sponsor that gives $5,000, $10,000 added cash to each of those A tier affiliates. And those tournaments are open to anybody to play. The A-tier affiliates love it because they get the pros that show up to their tournaments. They get a little bit of extra added cash, and that's what they get rewarded for scheduling it appropriately with the overall Pro Tour schedule.
And that's the function of a Silver Series at this point right now.
Exactly. So you do that with A-tiers, and then the Silver Series that don't fit in as well. For example, the Open at Tallahassee, where you are the weekend before a major and no one is going to play. And it's also during the actual Masters, so no one's going to watch it either. That tournament would be an excellent Silver Series tournament that could stay on the Silver Series tour. So something like the Beaver State Fling, something like the Open at Belton, make them Pro Tour affiliates.
Right. Or just make them Elite Series events.
Or make them Elite Series, right? Do either one. That's fine. And then get a Silver Series that runs separately. It does require more staff. It does require more work. But I think it would be better for the sport overall to run that. And maybe partner with the NADGT. Look for an opportunity to do that. I think that's a really good solution.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got to talk about Nikko. We'll be right back. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. And you know what? If you want to get the custom pack that you envision in your mind's eye, the pack of your dreams, you can do it at any time. Go to pounddiscgolf.com and you can get your custom Octothorpe, your custom Octahall, your custom Carlton, your custom Toolbox, and their custom pack builders are now open all the time. No more waiting for drops or hoping that you get lucky. You can just go build your pack. You can tinker with it for a while before you hit the order button, but you can check it all out on their website and you can just design it exactly how you want, from the zippers to the main flap to the bottom of the pack, exactly what you envision. PoundDiscGolf.com. Welcome back to The Upshot. Breaking news. Nikko Locastro takes a long time to throw his shots and his putts. Not so breaking news, obviously. This is well-tread material, but Nikko was doing his Nikko thing in the final round, and it was quite obvious because when you're watching it live, it's a whole lot different than when you're watching it in post-production where they can just snip out 40 seconds of his pre-shot routine. Josh, I'm curious. I was commentating, so I'm curious for your thoughts on tuning in and seeing Nikko taking quite a long time on some of his shots.
I know it's a joke right now where people say you can, let Nikko start to putt and then go, then the list runs on of what you can go do in the meantime. I use Nikko's shots as the time to I go grab food. I respond to a couple text messages. I fill up my water bottle. it takes so long. And it's interesting because, I see some of the those on the opposite side who say, oh, well, pros take more than 30 seconds all the time. That's true. That happens, right? And in tricky lies, in different conditions, when it's pouring rain and people are taking time to try and dry off their disc and use their whale sack, yes, that does happen. The difference is, though, is that it happens every single shot with Nikko. Every shot takes at least or nearly a minute. And it's excessive. It's so excessive. It's so bad, Charlie. It's so hard to watch, too. Just to sit there and it kills the flow. And it becomes noticeable. And so something's got to be done.
So let's talk about what happened this weekend, and then we can kind of discuss, what should happen in the future. Nikko was given a time warning by Jeff Spring on hole 5. And so basically, obviously Jeff Spring is the CEO of the Pro Tour. He was named a tournament official by the TD and issued a time violation warning when he noticed that Nikko's card mates were getting frustrated with Nikko taking so long. Now, the players did not call a time violation at any point during the round, but Jeff Spring let him assess the wind on the tee of 5, started the clock, and it took 52 seconds for him to throw his tee shot. Obviously, the limit is 30 seconds, and it's even been tightened up a little bit in the latest rules update. You can't say that there was a distraction anymore to let you reset the clock. So, obviously 52 seconds is a clear violation. Now, so the warning was given, and then Nikko continued to take just about that long on the rest of the shots for the entire round. So my question is, Josh, what is the point of a warning if there's no teeth whatsoever? And what if the players aren't going to call it? Does something else need to be done, or does it really fall to the players to, deal with this themselves? Because the players don't like it that it's taking so long, but if they're not going to call it, what can be done?
There are, I think, a lot of players who do things that annoy their card mates. And I'm sure I don't have the extensive list. And I'm sure there are things that players do that annoy their card mates that might be technical violations of the rule, whether that be time or other what would be considered courtesy violations. The reason that Jeff Spring was there, in part, is because Nikko taking forever is terrible for live disc golf. And Nikko's time issues is no longer just a player's issue. It is a Pro Tour issue because of production quality and production quality. The issue then is that, we've said time and time again, it falls on the players, it falls on the players, it falls on the players. The players aren't doing anything about it, though. And so it seems that the Pro Tour is beginning to step in to do something about it. I wish, though, as you said, that warning I would have expected a warning to give it, at least make him conscious of it, right? The fact that it didn't change a thing, really, I think shows, and I agree with you, that without those repercussions, nothing is going to change until he actually is given a stroke penalty for it.
Yeah, you either got to get stroked or you got to get money penalized out of your payout. There has to be some kind of actual consequences if we want this to actually change. So here's Drew Gibson on Twitter. Did the players nor DGPT staff make a call at any point? Well, as we know, Jeff Spring did. Let's just do away with the rule if everyone, including staff, is too scared to call it. It's easy. Start timer. When it goes off at 30 seconds, you say, sorry, pal, you got to be quicker than that. Maybe the Disc Golf Pro Tour can elaborate on how the fans can complain week after week about a constant offender, but neither the players nor officials call the rule. Maybe the fans are exaggerating. Maybe the players don't want the smoke. Maybe we need real officials who will speak up. No one wants to stand there for 45 seconds to barely make a 15-footer. Ooh, that's some shade. People who abuse the time rule do it because they are not ready, either mentally or physically, so letting them break the rules to further prepare doesn't seem fair to the rest of the field who are abiding. Okay, now more in the comments. Here's Chris Clemens. For me personally, says Chris, I get irritated, but I deem my round and what I'm doing to be more important than worrying about Nikko. I've been in a group who called him before, and it wasn't pleasant. I think he will speed up if we all start to call it, though, or else he gets stroked. And, right? I mean, it's that simple. Like, there has to be, either players have to call it, or we just need to accept that the rule is not being enforced whatsoever. And I know, like, and I've talked about it in the past, wouldn't it be great if we had an official on, a bunch of officials out on the course managing this kind of thing? Yes, it would be great, but I just don't think it's realistic right now that we're going to have 18 very knowledgeable, or even 5 to 10 very knowledgeable rules officials out on the course, right? We can't have volunteer spotters trying to call time violations. I'm sorry. They often don't even know if the disc went in and across the inbounds or out of bounds. Like, that's no knock on them. They're volunteers. But you have to have actual people who really know the rule book, and there's not that many people out there. Like, be honest with yourself. Have you ever read the full rule book? No.
Here's the solution that I might like, because the one problem I have with Jeff Spring coming over and kind of intervening a little bit, sort of, intervene is a strong word, is that it's inequitable, because it happens to Nikko, because Nico's the most public example of it. But if Jeff Spring just makes it a point to follow Nikko around, we know Gannon Burr takes a long time. It's been mentioned on commentary.
There were definitely other players this weekend, Josh, who are taking over 30 seconds to throw a shot.
I mean, is Jeff Spring going to go follow them? And as soon as you start giving stroke penalties, because it's Nikko and Nikko does it, you've created an inequitable playing field that I think Nikko has legitimate grievance against. Here's my solution, is that you get 2 to 3 officials who are available via text and can be reached out to anonymously. So
it's like the Crime Stoppers hotline.
A little bit. So in debate, we actually have, in competitive collegiate debate, we have what are called equity officers, who in the case of, things that happen in rounds that are, unprofessional, unkind, flat out, just should not belong in that kind of sphere, you text the equity officer or email them anonymously, and then they can either make a general announcement or they can come speak to that individual without disclosing your name. I know it sounds a little bit silly, but if you just said, hey, will you just come swing by our card real quick? Nikko's taking a long time. Official comes by, observes it happening, and says, Nikko, here's your time warning. And then any card can request an official just to come walk around. It has to be observed by the official. It means Nikko probably, and players probably clean up their act a little bit, but at least in their mind it says, oh, my card is noticing something. I need to pay attention to that. I think a lot of players, that would be enough to correct the issue. It means that you don't have to issue a warning that is seen as taboo right now. It's just enough that the official comes. Most people say, I need to speed up my play, or, okay, I was getting a little bit frustrated. I probably should quit throwing my mini around. Anything like that cleans it up without creating direct confrontation between a player and another player. I think it's a way to diffuse the situation. And, there's an argument to be said that these are adults and professionals, and they should get over it and just call the rules.
But it's not happening.
And
it hasn't happened for 5 years.
And as long as players continue to travel together, stay in Airbnbs together, they're not going to happen, in my opinion. And I think this might be a solution to allow you to, without creating a tense or really negative situation for your card and or just living situation, you could then maybe address the issue.
I find it to be an interesting concept. Something has to be solved, I think.
Has to.
For what it's worth, it was a deliberate card overall, the lead card, because Chris Dickerson has a deliberate approach. I think he probably takes right around the 30 seconds on most of his shots.
Mm-hmm.
You also had Ezra Aderhold's pretty quick on his throws. And who was the last player on the lead card? Oh, Adam Hammes. Adam Hammes also takes a long time. I think he probably goes over the 30 seconds sometime. And then you had Nikko, who like certainly was obviously taking a long time. And it's especially noticeable on like shorter putts where it's like you're at 20 feet. Like you got this every single time. Like it was not even missing them.
Right.
So the thing is, the chase card was not like really getting a lot of separation. It's not like the lead card was on 15 and the chase card was in the clubhouse. So if they had all been playing fast, we would have just been waiting in backups instead of waiting for Nikko to putt. So there is something to be said for that. But overall, the pace of play just across the board in this Music City Open final round was really slow. Yeah. And I think that it's not just Nikko. He's the most obvious offender. And like, I think his personality and some of the antics that sometimes happen, it contributes to it being conspicuous. Mm-hmm. But I think overall pace of play is something that the Disc Golf Pro Tour should be thinking more about, because it was dragging. There's no way around it. Like watching players sit there and go through this long routine for every shot, it makes it slow. And I don't think it needs to be that way. The rules make sense. 30 seconds is a reasonable number, but we have to commit to actually doing it.
It's funny because in baseball, there was the fight over whether or not you should have the pitching clock.
Right.
And that's just been like the biggest fight in order to address pace of play issues. We have the rule. Like that's done. That's not a battle we have to fight. Just got to enforce it.
Yeah. And here's the thing. What I like about your concept, Josh, is that the goal shouldn't be to penalize.
Right.
The goal should be to deter the behavior of very slow play. Mm-hmm. It's like when they put up the speed limit sign with the blinking like police light on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It makes you slow down. And it's like, you don't actually need to give somebody a ticket. Like you just need to make them aware, like, hey, I need to speed up. Or in the case of the speed limit sign, I need to slow down. I mixed the metaphors here. Either way, I think giving a warning that does nothing is it's like the Silver Series. It's a middle ground that does nothing. Like
it makes you mad without actually addressing the issue.
Right. So I'd love to hear reader thoughts, listener thoughts on how this could be solved, if it's solvable, or if it doesn't matter to you and you don't think it matters. I mean, it was honestly, Nikko was cooking yesterday. Like he started 5 down through 5, or did he get 6 in a row? He might have gotten 6. No, he got 5, and he goes 7 under in the front 9. I mean, he was throwing it great. He looked awesome, and it's great to watch Nikko play. He has some crazy lines with the flex shots and the super overstable Anheuser release. Yeah. And I like Nikko. I think he's a fun player to watch. But if he just threw his shots at the 30 to 40 second mark instead of the minute mark, it would make a really big difference in the like enjoyability of watching.
How many throws did Nikko throw this weekend? Do I want to know this number? So 169 shots. Comes out. So
do the math. Like average 20 seconds over the actual time limit.
Right. So if you said, let's say round 3, for example, let's just imagine you threw 60 shots. Nikko had a little bit less than that, but that makes math really easy. 60 shots, we're assuming 20 seconds a shot. Then that would come out to, wouldn't that be full 20 minutes extra?
So I did the whole math on the whole round. There's a calculator if you're watching on YouTube. So you said 169, right?
Yeah.
Times 20 seconds of overage on average, let's say. Divided by 60 to get it in minutes, 56 minutes.
Your coverage this weekend was an hour longer than it needed to be because of Nikko Locastro.
Now that was the whole tournament. So if you divide by 3, it's approximately 20 minutes. And yes, like absent backups, like it that is literally just time caused by Nikko specifically. I mean, there was one sequence where he got in the woods and he's like trying to move some branches, and there's like like some of the rough at Music City Open has got to get cleaned up in the future at Mill Ridge. But he's like trying to move some stuff, and he's like kicking things and get super annoyed, and finally throws his shot. It goes like 25 feet, hits a tree. And so then he like kind of prances up to the next shot. Like it's kind of funny to watch him when he gets mad like that. And then he takes another really long time. It's like 4 minutes of just Nikko throwing 2 shots. And it's just like, come on, like we got to move it along here. So anyway,
look, if we can get Halo Polecats, we can get Nikko to play to the time limit. I'm a firm believer.
And it's not clear that there's any correlation of his success based on how long he takes to throw the shot.
I thought you meant Halo Polecats and time violations.
And now we don't know. Like they've dropped the Halo Polecats. Maybe
right after Nikko's on coverage, we just Anyway, I agree.
If Nikko's taking too long, you have to take the Halo Polecat box over behind him and open it up so that it plays the Rickroll music. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with you tomorrow on the interview series. We're going to be talking with Christine Jennings about her disc golf career so far, getting involved in media, and a whole bunch more. So we hope you join us for that. And then, of course, we'll be back on Thursday, getting you ready for the Open at Tallahassee, as well as starting to look ahead to the Champions Cup. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you on Thursday right here on The Upshot.